I'm trying on some mighty thin ice with this shot. Anyway, hey everybody, this is Retrokid Reviews with my workbench. This is probably the worst shot I can show it because I wanted to do an overhead like in most nerd videos or in this game adaptations sequels case. Long story short, I wanted to do the overhead for most of the modding for most of the weapons you do in both games, but yeah, beating around the bush aside, what are my thoughts with the Last of Us HBO series? Getting to the most obvious point, it is surprisingly good. I don't have a card to me talking about the trailers. Oh wait, I do. But I had hoped that it was going to be better than the actual, I guess, worries coming into this adaptation. I was very much aware that Craig Maxon, my apologies if I got his last name wrong, was the showrunner of Chernobyl. Another thing I just noticed lately, you're going to be hearing a lot of industrial stuff because I'm pretty much the closest to my heater. So, from my previous video to this one, very stark difference how going into a room goes as far as audio quality goes. Anyway, the show itself, I loved it. It was good. The first 2 episodes is a damn good back-to-back episode if you choose that as like your go-to pilot. The first one, the actual pilot, is pretty good. There's a little bit of flashbacks that are helping casual fans coming into the series, and more importantly, I want to give, like I said in my community tab, probably by the time this drops, I already said my thoughts of Tess's original voice actor who passed away, but as you can tell, I'm getting ahead of myself. So what is The Last of Us? Very good question when it comes to people who are fans of this franchise, and it has also been more or less at the business end of some, let's just say, divisive opinions with that game sequel going forward 3 years on. So I'll keep it brief for the voice cast, including and not limited to, obviously, Tess's voice actor, who also sadly passed away this week. My heart goes out to her and her fans. Like I said, I already mentioned in the community tab below. And where to start in the sequels case with one Laura Bailey? She is a professional voice actor. She can handle it, hopefully. The threats, when she was playing Abby at the time, not merit. As you can see, I'm a lot forward into the future than I think the plot of the actual pilot. For those who are new, who've never played the games, it is set in 2013, going to another 20 years into the 2030s. Florida future, where Cordyceps are the new zombies, a lot of whole things like that. I'm not going to be here about more of, like, what exactly the Clickers going to look like going forward throughout the show. I'm almost certain they're almost game accurate. Neil Druckmann, who's also co-running this series adaptation, is pretty much the go-to of how to do a video game adaptation. Right? Bring the guy that made it so that you know what you're getting yourself into. And I haven't gotten to the actors of the actual live-action cast. My apologies. Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey did the best versions of Joel and Ellie I've ever seen. Without doubt, without question. Getting to the most obvious thing, this is my review is going to be taking place after episode 3. I will try to keep this, out of all the episodes, the most least spoilered. How is this compared to the game itself? For those who also know who voiced the games aside from Tess, Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson are this game's Joel and Ellie, and for people who have played the game 10 years ago going into the series, the lines are almost verbatim. They're almost like one-to-one. Little differences here and there. I think the big difference early on in these first 2 episodes is that spores aren't going to be a huge thing. They're not going to mask up half the time. Not because it was a hindrance of like how to adapt that level of gameplay. Turns out Craig had a history of not handling masks pretty well when he's on Chernobyl, which again makes sense. It's probably a hiccup he didn't want to go through all over again. I myself have not seen felt like a doc, but the mini-series of Chernobyl, for those who don't know that show, it's what it is. It's basically what happened during Chernobyl during the, I think, late 60s, going into the nuclear crisis and stuff like that for Soviet Russia. Again, it's a lot more historical than what Last of Us is, which was about scary zombies and stuff like that, and, Western stuff. Anyway, long story short for this, I'm gonna probably not mention this one last time. This is the closest thing to a real nerf, I guess, Joel shotgun I could try to do in like a playful kind of way if it was like a skin. That Factions game ever comes out, because a lot of Last of Us fans are really hoping that Factions game is still a thing, and honestly I'm right there with them. Anyway, back to the show. It's really good. Again, like I could say about both these 2 episodes, it's a one-to-one recreation, and like I said with the timeline, it's a little different. How different? The apocalypse kicked off in 2003 instead of 2010 in the game's first game, story goes. And you can definitely see a stark difference into some aspects of those who are like Legends fans who remember that CW show. Yeah, it's basically an inaccurate depiction of what we are going through now. And honestly, as someone who has been through an actual pandemic, yeah, it could have been a lot worse. And other circumstances, there's a lot of geopolitical stuff like that, a lot of, Duncan Bush jokes and stuff like that. Not, like, in your face, like, actually saying it, like, subtle. Another thing, since we're talking HBO Max content, like hell, I'm going to be reviewing anything with Velma. I did not have time for the post wallpaper art, and honestly, I don't need to. No, I am not caving to the Fandom Menace or any of those anti-SOW channels. They're right, but they're kind of oversimplifying it. They're over saying just what they want to say instead of how everyone else has basically talked about this. NerdSync did a better job with it, obviously. Nando V Movies did a better job with it with his second channel. I'm going to leave those videos down below explaining, no, it's really that bad, except don't follow these guys. They're kind of getting it, but not getting it at the same time for rage points. I don't know. So, speaking of these guys, yeah, they had a fun time backing out with anything related to the show adaptation until we got to episode 3, Billstown. First and foremost, Nick Offerman is playing the best Nick Offerman you can ever see him. He's basically playing the hits if you're a Parks and Rec fan. So much so to, I think, having a Easter egg drop of him just owning and just knowing everything about a Home Depot when he was like being the last holdout of his town. I think that's how they went in the story. The thing about the show, I think they accurately portrayed a few notes that Joel was going through. I think in the pilot, it was a lot of world building, what he was doing in Boston and the QZs. QZ, obviously, quarantine zones. Again, I don't want to oversimplify this terminology, in case there is Last of Us fans watching. If so, hi, hello. I hope I'm doing the best that I can representing this franchise you guys like so much last decade. Please let me know. Yeah, and another thing about Bill's episode, he's basically fast-forwarding a good 3+ seasons of Walking Dead into like one episode. That is kind of like the strength of this show's writing. Yeah, it's basically one-to-one with the game. Yeah, it's a little bit different because of the sports thing, like I mentioned. And for people who have not seen anything about why Ellie's a big deal, I won't spoil much, but I will say is she's immune, but I can't even explain how that's how it happened, because there is going to be an episode probably dedicated to it, maybe her Left Behind DLC, for those who remember. Another thing, I also mentioned Troy and Ash. Yeah, they're going to be doing cameos for this show. I mean, it's kind of expected. I thought Neil was going to get it first, but it turns out they're going to get it soon. I think Troy's going to be later down the road, and I think the late episodes when you get into, I think, a cannibalistic town that they're going to be going through at the end of the season. Another thing about this show, and the Season 2 that they just announced as of this week, yeah, more likely, they're going to be a bit of the whole game. Like, this season is adapting the whole game. Like, all of Part 1, and Season 2 might be bits of Part 2. Don't know on Season 3. I don't know how long they're going to do it. In Bella Ramsey's case, I gotta say, she is basically Ellie. Like, and this is a very interesting and unique case because she never played the game. I think that was Neil's ideal way to do it, so that way she gets an idea of how to handle her version of Ellie and see if it matches it up exactly how Ash was doing it when she was voicing it back in the day 10 years ago. And it's almost like I said, verbatim. It's like one-to-one. You can't deny they are both a really good representation of Ellie in either medium. It's perfect, honestly. So with that being said, my last thoughts on this first half of The Last of Us Season 1, it's worth it. It really is. Like I said, I'm going to underplay as much as I can with Episode 3. I'll probably talk about it in the shorts because, like I said, Bill's very different from what you saw in the game. So I'm going to leave that out there for game fans. It's actually a better send-off than he probably got in the actual game itself. So, again, that's leaving it out there for people who have not seen either or. So, I'm going to leave that at that. Ultimately, is this a good reason to pick up the first game's remake that came out last year? Honestly, yeah. From what I've heard, before G4 got defunct, I think one of their last X-Play reviews, they said that, yeah, it is worth the $70. You're not just getting the first game and getting the Left Behind DLC. You are getting commentaries, you're getting, like, a lot of, like, extra stuff, you're getting more accessibility and stuff like that. And, yeah, honestly, I'm proud to say, yeah, I can see why this, of all games, spiked in sales when the show's first couple of episodes dropped. So, with that all being said, what are your thoughts of The Last of Us? Did I do this non-spoilers yet sort of spoilers review right to kick off my review series of this first season? Let me know in the comments down below. I am trying to hurry this up and not get too cold down here. Retrokid Reviews, shooting off quicker over there to the end cards so you see my previous video, which was also talking about the Legend of Vox Machina's first couple episodes of Season 2, speaking of TV shows, and voice actors ended up being on CR content. Hit the notification bell, end card over here. Also to my shorts playlist that is mostly slowly colliding into a calamity kind of sense into just CR content, my bad in advance. I will be leaving a short of my thoughts of Annie Welcher's passing. I did mention that in the community tab, but I did make a short, so this will probably come out right after, probably the next day. Short here to hit the notification bell down here, sorry. New camera angle, new tricks, sorry. Short here to sub the channel. With that all being said, take care, subscribe. I am Retrokid Reviews, and I am out of breath because, yeah, I didn't think we see a decent video game adaptation, yet here we are with Last of Us, and yeah, I would quote anything from the show right now, but even that's a spoiler. It's that good if I'm not quoting the quotes, just saying, as far as not spoilers goes.